This is Real Talk Vlogs with Jack and Steve.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Real Talk Vlogs with Jack and Steve. Another week's passed. We're here. We will have we have a special guest on tonight, Mr. AZEuros Austin. About 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I met him for the first time. 6 months ago, Steve met him Steve met him. Steve, when did you meet him for the first time?
Austin's been around the game for some time now, so I was following him on Instagram, and when we went to California as part of the Big Cali road trip, we stopped in at AZEuros in on their home turf. So the Virginia squad just kind of rolled in, was like, "Hey, nice car collection you
Hi.
have here." Um, and so we met the folks at his shop. He had some things that popped up, so we actually kind of missed each other, rolling in, rolling out. But um, yeah, met him here on the podcast mostly, and have been kind of following along with him ever since.
Yep. Well, Mr. Austin is coming. Obviously, we already popped the bubble on that one. He's coming on tonight's podcast. So we are going to make today's little how you been, how I been super sweet. And we're going to just dive into getting him on the phone. So, Steve, how has your week
Yeah,
been? Oh, and this is recorded after the fact. Go.
well, we're not that far after the fact. We wrapped up.
Hey, do we put a dramatic reenactment across here?
So, uh, all in all, the week's been great. We had a very thorough, long, illustrious interview with Austin. It was a good time, and learned a lot of things about importing cars I wasn't expecting to learn. So that's a positive to my night. I ordered timing equipment
Yeah.
for Race Wars. So I have made the largest investment on behalf of Race Wars that I have ever made. And
Dude.
it's for some pretty nice timing equipment. I picked up the Farm Tech Autocross wireless timing setup with a 7-inch LED board and a spare set of eyes or a spare gate. So essentially, we'll have a start beam and a finish beam, and in the middle, we'll have a second timing beam. So you can send one car. You'll know how fast they went in the first section, know how fast they went in the second section, know how fast they went in the complete course. You can send one car and then have a 25, 30, 45-second delay, second car. So essentially, if we can get the course laid out in the right way, we can send a car every minute or less, and just have
It's all about that
a live
efficiency.
feed, um, without backing up, having a bunch of guys with 6 stopwatches, old horse race style. The limitations of the system, we can't run two cars, 2 courses. So like drag racing timing systems are really big money, says, because essentially you're buying a set of gates for the 60-foot, the 300-foot, the 600, whatever there's the 8th mile, whatever. There's a whole bunch of sets of gates that they're buying.
So there's all those
for
different
2
beams?
lanes.
Really?
What's that?
That's how that works?
Yeah.
So wow, I never realized that there was that many to get all those trap speeds on there. They have that's what.
Yeah, and the staging beams.
Yeah, well, I knew those were there.
Like a drag racing timing setup consists of 8 or 10 autocross timing setups.
Wow,
Right, and
that's crazy.
I bought like the autocross plus timing setup, so that
if you added like 10 more of those, we could just set up a drag strip anywhere we want and be super legit on the big end.
Well, as long as we had the correct operating stuff. I mean, it's all simple code, but yeah, we could.
That's
But
why
I am not trying to make that kind of investment 2 days after understanding what the cost of the things that I thought I needed were.
Bro, what's a so that this whole thing kind of leads me like curiosity. Did you look into transponder stuff?
I mean, I did.
What is I don't know. What is the difference? Like, can you use your stuff with transponders if you
No,
upgraded? No, it's not doable.
no, it is a beam split split light beam setup.
Okay.
All right, so you have a sensor and a light projector of some sort, and
Something breaks it and that's it.
that's it, right?
Right on.
Understand a transponder setup is not an inexpensive thing. I considered it. And then I immediately stopped considering it.
How much is it?
Well, you look.
Wow, is it that bad? Are we in the
You
five
know, it's
digit?
more. Yes.
Shit.
Yeah, dude. Like, I'm okay. I'll be
Wow.
straight up with you. What I have shipped to my door is almost 3 grand.
I feel like that's right though. Like that I think that's a legitimate price.
Yeah, and it is where you start.
Wow. That's a
Okay, so like I checked a couple boxes. I got a 7-inch LED, 7-inch tall LED board out to 3 digits, right? So as people are running, there's no hiding how you did,
That's awesome. Yeah. You know, the coolest
right?
thing about this, like you you guys will mention this at towards the end of the podcast, but the other thing that this timing board is gonna be ran all day at Shenandoah for the slide into fall drift event as well. So the guys who are time attacking, yo, if our drifty boys are getting around this thing faster than y'all, we're just gonna be proving to the world that spinning tires around there is faster than grippy. And that's I'm just saying, because everyone says that drifting around the course is not faster, but it's gonna be funny if it happens. Like it's gonna be funny.
I've I have never heard one of these people that you speak of.
I have heard it. I've been told that drifting around a racetrack is not faster than like a
Yeah,
race.
you know, it's also along the lines of, oh, them Hondas ain't fast.
True, true,
Okay, sure. Feel how you feel. The
right.
truth is real. You know.
Like, yeah, it's just,
Um, outside of the timing equipment investment, I don't want to get too far into that because I don't have it in my hand. Once it arrives and I can play with it a little bit, I'll be much
yeah.
better suited. But I did confirm with the track I'm gonna take it to a different drift event at the same facility, set it up, do a test run.
That's legit.
You know,
Yeah,
because I'm not trying to get to our event and be in the middle of the day
I would
and
do a
have some
couple
issue.
if you could. Like,
I mean, I'm not exactly a not busy guy.
no, 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 no,
So,
no. No. Here, let me say it a different way. Just humor me. Humor
it's
cars.
not that I don't want to. It's not that I don't want to. If I know I can commit to one test day, if I'm able to test it more, I will.
No, I'm saying take it outside in your street. Set the beams up.
Hell
Cars.
no. 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 Nope.
Okay.
Mm-mm. Nope. Do you know how many Karens live in my neighborhood?
Yeah, what's the big deal? It's not like you're doing anything that the city doesn't do.
I don't want to deal with the assholes that are my neighbors.
Yeah, I would do it to mine, and they'd be like, "What are you doing? Testing race car stuff. You want to help?
Yeah,
Get your
but
car out and drive through for me." What do you
mm-mm.
mean? What is it doing? Oh, it tells me how fast you were going from that point to that point, and if you're speeding or not from this point to this point. You want to give it a whirl, and we'll see how accurate it is.
Well, I'm not trying to involve myself with
Sorry, I get
any of
it.
that.
I get it. I get it. That's my perspective.
I wanna test things in a controlled environment. I don't want one of my very expensive laser beams to be hit by some idiot trying to avoid some shit that they think is there, it isn't.
True. I didn't. Dude, I figured you could put it on a sidewalk. Like, I don't know. I was just,
I'm
I.
just saying, man,
Can you
I
set
am
it
not
up in your
playing with
basement
trouble.
with your RC cars
I mean, probably,
or your backyard with your RC cars? That's controlled.
probably.
That's controlled.
Uh, you have not seen me with an RC car that's barely controlled.
I have seen you with an RC car that's barely controlled.
No, what I'm anyway, you're trying to put my shit in a position where it can be broken before I even have it.
fair enough. You're saying that the RC car in your hands is deadly weapon to those. It's like a speeding missile.
I mean, something like that, yeah.
Oh, all right. I'm excited to see this stuff in action.
I have to do course layout. I have to figure. I don't have to. Like, it's not necessarily up to me, but I want to present some options. Um, for the time attack. It is not something that this course had facility has done a lot of, right? So there's going to be more opportunity for the drift cars to carry speed than there is the time attack cars to carry speed. And the course may not be the same. So essentially we will have a course set up that you'll be able to drift around the banks, right? Because
Hmm.
slapping a tail on the wall is a little different than, losing a tire and going head on, and the likelihood of one happening in one event and the other happening in another event is high. And so there will be a lot of chicanes and stop boxes for the time attack.
So you're gonna do like, yeah, I mean, it'll probably be like small section changes and stuff like that, essentially, right?
Not not s-
I
not
and I
imagine a we don't have it set up yet, but I can tell you right now that the drift course and the time attack course will not be the same.
don't know. It I think it's gonna be fun. I'm down. I'm just gonna be
Oh,
there.
it's gonna be fun for sure,
I have
man.
no idea what to expect. I know that the thing's a what is it, 3/4? Is it 3/4 mile or what do I forget.
It is a 3/8 mile oval
Three
with a
eighths.
fully paved infield.
That's right. 3/8. I forgot which decimal, what integer was
It's a
after
big
the three.
difference.
Oh, it's a huge difference. That's a lot of
It's a big,
distance.
yeah, it's a 3/8 mile oval with a fully paved infield.
Yeah, don't get it twisted though. 3/8 of a mile is a lot of room to do damage. You can get a CRX to 88 miles an hour. Steve did it.
It's essentially 3 lanes wide,
Yeah.
3.5 lanes wide, the full course around, right?
Hmm.
And so the transitions, um, I need to look at how the transition from the banked oval to the paved infield is before I decide how aggressive I can change direction
For
at
what? Drifting or for autocrossing?
for time attack.
Sorry, time attack. Yes. Okay, so
You know,
is
the
swing
like
set gonna be? I'm sorry, I'm asking. Is it swing set's gonna do is gonna focus on the drift course and then you're just focusing on the time attack?
correct.
Cool. Okay. Dynamics.
So
Sorry. Can
I am not trying to take over something they are already good at.
I didn't think you were. That's why I was.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Can in your background, can you just get like good overheads, or would you just grab say Google Maps image and just start drawing lines? Like, what are your thoughts on how to make a good time attack course? Come.
would essentially you essentially look at the space you have and you start doodling. I mean, there's no real restriction. So you understand you have to understand you don't want to have a sharp abrupt turn at a wall. Okay, you don't want people heading towards a wall at speed to brake and then turn in.
Right,
Okay,
because
you want to make a soft angle with the walls that you have, right? So if something goes wrong, nobody is going to be pointed at a wall. And then you're going to have essentially cones, painted lines that you have to follow, right? And
Mhm.
you want to get through the setup course as fast as possible. Essentially, we're trying to make it better, make people have an opportunity to be better in their own cars, right? And so some of the people that are coming to the time attack, I can tell you, are gonna have race car type cars. They're going to have cars that they've done a ton of seat time in, have a lot of power, rev to the moon, whatever their setup is, sticky tires, full suspension, the whole 9 yards. But also, we're appealing to the guys that, like, hey, I want to take my 18-year-old kid or 16-year-old kid out to do this thing so that I feel more comfortable about their ability to drive a car. and they'll know where the limit of their car is. It's $40 to autocross. $45, $50 to autocross. We're gonna be in that price point. Oh. How was your week, dude?
The S6, I got the S6 running that was dropped off. Put a battery in it, threw some charge at it. It fires up. I'm gonna go with the 3.5. 3.5. That's Jacob got suspended. I don't understand children in basic education right now. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And from the car, that's like the downside stuff. They gave me the negative 3.5 out of 7. Got a car running, got injectors ordered. Yeah, just more or less same stuff, different day of the week. I need to find a building. That's a big thing on my list. I'm working on a business plan, actually writing it out.
Space is expensive.
It's a little,
FYI.
yeah.
I just bought a bunch. It's expensive.
I'm not buying it like that. I'm renting it for right now. I need to rent it. I just need to expand. I need about 11. I figure 11 to like 1,200 square feet, I think, is what I need. And that's what
You
I'm.
need space for what? You want 3 bays. That's what I hear when you say 1,100 square feet.
I need office space. I need a small amount of office space, like 400 square feet or less of office space with a bathroom. And
look, you need 250 square feet per bay, and then 250 square feet of office for yourself. That gives you a 12 by 12 office, or 11 by 12 office, space for a bathroom, and 3 bays with lifts.
a little bit of
That's 1,000 square feet.
I need a small, like, not showroom area, but like space for some, like.
Okay, so you have 2 bays with lifts, a show space, and a small office. That's 1,000.
One bay, because I only have one lift, and I'm only going to use them one at a time. Everything else is design and fabrication.
Time you spend waiting on parts.
Long enough that I will unrack shit.
Fair.
And the way I play the game is I know what I'm needing. I'm not tearing it apart until I need it. Here's what I need. Or, like, I keep things in mobility condition. The other thing is I want to be able to keep...
You have enough demand to get another tech.
Yes. I could, with a building, push another... And that's another problem. There's too many avenues here that I'm actively trying to put on this thing to answer all the questions, that it's not my time. My time is worth moving on to one of these. I know I can train a person to do my job, to work on an Audi, but I'd rather hire an Audi technician.
So would everybody else.
I could, though. There's enough of them pissed off that... Here, I'm asking you to have fun doing what you do. I know what you're worth. Here's the reality of it. Let's find someplace in the middle. Here's what we're doing. All right? Know that I'm not trying... Bring value to something so they can actually have value as a person, as doing this. Like, make sure they're happy. Like, the problem with I feel like most people leave corporate jobs like you guys, is you guys you feel like you're either A, being taken advantage of, or you're not happy, or you're hit a glass ceiling. Like, that's the biggest reason I feel if I was in corporate industry, I would throw them the middle finger and be like, I'm outie. I could be wrong. Never done it. Don't know. But all my friends that are in corporate environments always seem like they're pissed off and sad about shit. Not saying you, but like there's always that dynamic of their job that they're like, yo, I hate this.
That's every job.
I don't say I hate my job. I enjoy what I do.
I enjoy what I do too. But if you loved your job so much, every time we hopped on here, you'd be like 7 out of 7.
Well, no, because my job is not my job my job is also a father. My job is also my shop. My job is also like I'm a man of many hats. So it's like to say that if I got on here every day and I love my job, it was a 7 out of 7. That's not factual because I have other hats that are required as a job. Being a father is a full-time job, Steve. Whether you, I'm just being straight. Like
I,
editing YouTube is another full-time job. Making this podcast is a part-time job. Love you, but it's facts. Like time I use on it's equivalent. It's about a 10 to 15 hours total time. YouTube for Rowdy Audi is every day at least 6 hours of my day is dedicated into just that function of my life. You know, times that by 5 days a week. Yeah. But speaking of other people that have full-time jobs that are in Audi stuff, we should probably get into that, shouldn't we? Because I'm ranting about how my week has been.
Yep. Onward to the interview. What's up, Jack?
Hi, Steve. We're back again. Let's see if he answers the phone. Hey! It's Austin. How are you?
What's up, guys?
Not too much. It looks nice and sunny over there.
It is.
It is.
It
All
was
right.
actually quite warm today, about 80 degrees. It was nice.
Oh, it was 71 here. I don't know. How was it out there, Steve?
Colder.
I was just saying by the beanie, it's definitely got to be colder.
That's funny. That's funny.
Oh, dude.
All right. Well, for our listeners out there, this is Mr. AZEuros Austin, and he has been on the podcast before about this time last year. And
6 months ago, but
it was actually about 6 months ago. You're right. I'm
6
sorry.
months ago. A
Feels
lot
like a
has
year.
changed, though. Could have been a year for all that
Mhm.
all that has changed since last time you were telling us about your B5 drift car. So,
Yep.
So, Mr. In typical guest fashion, here is your peripheral. Steve, what's that word?
proverbial,
Peripheral.
proverbial,
Here's your,
proverbial soapbox.
here's your soapbox. Fill in the gaps. And we'll get into. Steve and I've got a lot of questions. We want to know what's going on with you. So just like catch us up to the last 6 months of what you've been doing, and then we'll talk about the future. How's that?
Okay, sounds good. So ended last year with the B5 drift car. Everything went great throughout the season. Kind of leaving off from the last time we talked. I built a 2.7. It was just IE rods, like basic refresh with the single turbo. Made over 500 horsepower on the Mustang dyno wheel. So Brad was really, really happy with that. We were only at like 24 pounds of boost, so nothing like crazy 2.7 wise. It was very conservative tuning. We went out to Big SoCal Euro, a big Euro meet in California. We did a lot of demo type stuff. I was kind of not stoked about the size of the area because the car was really geared and set up to go fast from like Grid Life and other tracks.
Yeah.
But just learning, my program's only a year or so old, so I'm still learning how to do this and trying to do it the best I can the first time out. But we went out, we put on a great show. We killed tires. We broke one axle. Me just trying to
Only
keep
one.
wheel speed. Yeah, only one. Only one axle. Actually, I only broke one axle, actually two axles since Grid Life. I broke one at the Dragon Drift event after Grid Life. Doing the same thing, just trying to keep wheel speeding that up in second gear and just dumping the clutch too hard.
Yeah.
And then same thing in that tight box, and then I was trying to keep wheel speed up and just dumped it in second, and it broke. It always breaks the outside snub. It
Yeah.
always just rips it off.
Yeah.
So it's like the weakest point of the rear end, and it is by far the smallest. But we went out, we did a great show. We got a huge amount of media. I mean, the followings and the videos and stuff were just nuts. I haven't, to my time yet, I could not believe I was driving home from the event because I had to be back. It was on Sunday and I had to be to work on Monday. So I immediately loaded up the car, completely drained, tired. It was like 90 or 100 degrees out that day. It was a rough day. But on my way back, my DMs were completely like filled. Like I was scrolling The only thing that killed me is, do you guys remember when Instagram and Facebook went down for like 24 hours?
Yes, yes,
It was
yes.
the day after, so I lost so many videos because like
Oh.
stories and that will only go 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I lost so much media from it, and I was so bummed. But as soon as I got home, like I literally just hit the bed and passed out. There's no way I was gonna like recuperate media. And I woke up the next morning. I'm like, what happened?
Yes.
Oh
um,
man.
Hey, random side note. You have an Android or an iPhone?
iPhone.
Oh, never mind. I was gonna say, if you have an Android, you can go down into like deep into the gallery of stuff, and they'll have
No.
like Instagram will save like duplicates of stuff all over the place.
Oh, interesting.
Just random
Yeah.
Android stuff. I know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Apple for me. So after that event, it was actually the last session that we went out. It was misfiring really bad, and I didn't know what it was. Got it back to the shop, did a compression test, and it looked like we lifted a head because I had 50 psi in one cylinder. I knew
Okay.
I knew the pistons and stuff weren't bad. I knew the rings didn't go wrong, but like one head, center of the head, so it was cylinder 5, had 50 psi. The rest were at like 160 or 180, so they were all fresh and good. So I knew I didn't hurt anything bad. I didn't have a misfire on cylinder 5. It was like random.
Yeah.
So at that point, I knew I didn't reuse head bolts, but I used OEM head bolts, which are torque to yield. And I did go through the procedure, but I think with my non-intercooled setup, I think my air intake temperatures were so hot doing a demo style event like that. And I was pushing the car, but let's be honest, like when you got a huge crowd of people just going nuts and you're firing them up, there's no way you're backing off. So
Right. No, why would you do that?
no, the worst thing was it started
Turn the boost
misfiring.
up.
It started misfiring, and the worst thing I did was I just put it in B mode, which is like full boost, 100% boost. Like I was like, we just gotta send it. It was the end of the year. Like I knew I was gonna build like a built 2.8 head, 8,000 RPM, bunch of nitrous. I knew I was gonna build another motor. This was just like a hey, get me by type thing. The plan was that motor was gonna go in the demo car. So it's gonna be like a rock solid 400, 500 horsepower car, and just cheap, easy build, if you will. So I sent it, lifted the head. At that time, I thought I was going to put it back together. I remember having a phone conversation. My dad used to build high performance race engines. I grew up drag racing and like always been around racing. So I basically called my dad and I was like, listen, I could slap this thing back together, put like head studs in it. I could build another motor, or all I did at Big SoCal Euro was talk to Stav at Malacca Motorsports because I've wanted and very intrigued by 12 valves. 12 valve VR6s. I just think they're stupid simple. They're super strong. They're compact. And there's loads of dudes across the world making, 4-digit numbers with them, 1,000 horsepower. So I was in his ear and he's like, dude, if you need any help, if you need any parts, if you tell me you want to make 12 valve happen, I'll make sure it happens. So that little seed was like in my brain, especially when I started having, lifting head problems. So I found a local 12 valve just to get the ball rolling in that. And I kind of just made the decision. I was like, listen, there's not a lot of events coming up. It's coming into wintertime. Like here's time to refresh and change direction. So change direction, went 12 valve, pulling the 2.7 apart. Unfortunately, the crank position sensor got too hot, sending it too much, and that was probably my misfire. But I was already like motor out, 12 valves already on the way, and I was like, you know what? It's progression, right? Everybody grows. Like you just got to take chances and grow. So went down the 12 valve route, had everything lined up, had spare chassis, everything B5 wise, and then we're starting to see supply issues. Being at AZEuros and doing service stuff, we're starting to see supply issues with parts. And they discontinued my manufacturer and supplier that I had B5 axles with. I had 6 axles total. So I had 4 sets of aftermarket axles with lifetime warranty and 2 OEM axles. The lifetime warranty ones, they're no longer producing. They just dropped them. They're back order, NLA, no longer available. So that was a big worry. So I started doing a lot of research and I was tired of breaking those end snub mounts because I was only on a 225 tire. I was only making 500 horsepower. I knew I was going to make a lot more and wanted the car to go a lot faster, a lot more gripped up. And I started going down this like snowball path of, well, I can't get a big enough axle in the back of the B5, so I got to build a knuckle. And as I talked about in the last time that we talked, like the car wasn't really a ground up build for me. It was a Lemons car.
Right.
So the cage
right,
wasn't
right.
done right. And there's so many things that just started like snowballing. Like I started painting the interior, and then like I would have had to sand the whole thing down to make it like a showroom style build that really in my like mind is how I want cars built, because it's something I'm capable of doing. It's just not, that car just wasn't going to do it. So it started snowballing, and really what, like, I went to SEMA, saw 034, saw IE, kind of put it in their mind, like, hey, I want to do a second car for 2022. I want to do ride-alongs. My biggest thing is like, I want to get people in the seat of these Audis and in the seat of drift cars, get them excited about the sport, get them excited about something that's new and different, and bring something totally different to the Audi community as far as media and just attention to different chassis and cars. Like, everybody thinks that it's because it's all-wheel drive or because it's front-wheel drive, you can only do X amount of things with them. I just wanted to kind of break the norm on that. And I wanted to go to events like S4Racewars, to SEMA, to big events like that in front of huge crowds and get people in the car, because I know from firsthand standpoint, like, they're cool to see cars slide around and make a ton of smoke, but really you could hop in a AE86 and go slide around and you're like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Oh,
and you see
absolutely.
drive and like massive amounts of smoke and you're like, this is the coolest thing ever. Well, blending those two together and getting somebody in the seat of a decently built car is going to be a ton of fun. So I was kind of like in the ear at SEMA of 034 and IE of, hey guys, I really want to build a 4-seat car. I really think an Avant would be awesome. They're like, yeah, we're all about it. Like, any open house that we do, any track days that we do, we'll send the car out. Like, we'll do whatever we need to like help you make that happen. Well, I don't remember what it was. I think we were super busy at work and it was a rough day, and it was just like, I was still sitting at my computer at the end of the day after hours, and I was like playing around on auctions, and I found a B8 A4 Avant black with sport package, and the car just like, it was like my eyes were just glued on the image of the car. I was like, this would be sweet. Do a 4-seat, 4-door like party car, like just go for fun, because it's a wagon, you wouldn't expect it to drift. It's an Audi, you wouldn't expect it to drift. And on the counter side, like when there's 3 people that walk up, like, yeah, I can give you all a ride along in one run.
Mm-hmm.
So like cost for tires and everything, like it was just a huge factor. So I reached out to 034 and I was like, hey guys, like, I know you like B8 chassis, you got a lot of parts for them, you do a lot of tuning with them. Like, what do you think about an Avant drift car? And they're like, if you can make an Avant happen, we are all about it. Like, you tell us what you need, full catalog, we'll make it happen. So I locked down the purchase of the car. Car came in. It was a 2-liter. It was B8. They have engine issues. Snapped a timing chain. Bent valves. Broken motor. Wasn't the way that I bought the car. So I went a lot of back and forth. Yeah, it wasn't a fun purchase.
Oh.
I had to wait 3 weeks for the car to get shipped from Indiana because it wasn't sold as a non-running car. So when they went to pick it up, they're like, well, we don't have a forklift. We don't have a way to like drag the car up. So you got to call another dispatch of a tow truck. So then I was arguing with the auction company. It's like, hey, I didn't buy this car as non-running, and now you're telling me, oh, well, sorry, it's not running. So there was a lot of back and forth. Finally got the car here, pulled the motor out of it, did the 034 front end on it, put coilovers on it, like got the chassis ready to go. And then again, snowball, and thinking I needed to grow, I found a B8 A4 sedan with the same issue, like blown motor. Dude pulled the motor and trans out in his driveway. Like, did not know how to work on the car. He said the funky square bolts, or star bolts is what he said, like triple square.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm telling you this honestly. Like, I've never seen somebody put in so much effort to take a car apart. B8 has the front differential that mounts to like basically the bell housing part of the front like, transmission.
Mm-hmm.
He took out the front diff.
Oh.
And took out the slide shaft. But the axles were still connected to the knuckles. Like, it just the center diff was still attached to the drive shaft, but the transmission was gone. So like he disassembled the transmission to get the motor and transmission out of the car.
I wonder if that's because he couldn't get the axle bolts out.
Probably.
Like, that's the only thing I can think of.
So when I picked the car up for $100, a complete B8 A4,
wow.
Complete. The dude's girlfriend was there, and she's like, just take it. Like, here, you want spare parts? Like, there was an APR carbon fiber intake, like, threw in the passenger seat. Like, just take it. Get it out of my life. Because I'm sure there was a lot of blood, sweat, cussing and swearing, and, like, long nights that went into, just removing the motor. So Pick that car up, strip that car down. That car is just like pushed aside right now. The original plan when I got the B8 is I wanted to build something that everybody could like hop in and drive, that friends of mine could drive the car, employees here of AZEuros could take it to car shows. Like I wanted the car to be street legal, AC, fun car. Well, the 2-liter goals and having that motor in that, the reality is like 500 horsepower is about it on the factory fuel system. You start getting a fuel cell and it starts getting this like slippery slope to make power. So as of right now, the B5 is unfortunately gone. So I did part that car out. The chassis is no more. It got scrapped. I tried to have people buy it and nobody was interested locally. And I get it, shipping it across the country just doesn't make sense. So basically taking the entire drivetrain, O&E, 12-valve VR6, which was all pretty much done. Like all I had to do was put fuel in it and start the car. Crazy enough.
Yeah, I think that's by the.
What was
Sorry.
that?
Oh, sorry. My fault. My fault. I was getting out of. I haven't interrupted you yet. Let's put one on the board.
I'm trying to get through this. So like it's been 6 months, but to me it feels like a year. Like
Right.
I've gone through so many different avenues, and I'll be honest, like I feel like I've made mistakes along the way. Like I should have just built the B5 and like been driving it right now. But the reality is like I've had enough like dabbled into it and put my toe in the water, and it feels good. And like I want to just jump in, and I want to do it 110% from the start. So the B8 A4 Avant is getting VR6 12-valve. It will get probably 800 to 850 horsepower. The axles I have on my Instagram, which is Mullet Sport AZ. There's a comparison between the B5 axles and the B8 axles, and there is a significant difference in overall diameter of the rear axles as well as that output. The output's like 4 times as big. It's massive. So I shouldn't break any axles. The diff is very, very similar to B6, B7, which I can backdate to if I need to, because I have a bunch of different gear ratios in that for a B6, B7.
Mm-hmm.
So this chassis is obviously newer. To be honest, it's a way better built chassis.
Well, also the rack is also, it's not up here, it's down in the front.
The rack is down in the front, so I'm not limited to how far I can push the motor back. There's so many different things. The chassis overall is lighter for its build. The build quality, the stiffness of the chassis is far better. The tunnel's bigger.
Yeah.
The rear end design is better. We'll see if it really handles power and takes the dynamic changes, but it's still fully adjustable. And just overall, it's a newer car. Like sponsors are just more excited. They really are. Like people want to see a newer Audi out there drifting. Like the old Audi stuff is still cool. I don't knock the B5 chassis at all. It is a great, great grassroots car. I love the short wheelbase. The angle kit and that you can get for them are amazing. The cars handle great power. It's when I started hitting that like 450, 500 plus, and that's the biggest issue is I don't run cars loose. I don't hate. It's way more fun to drive a really gripped up drift car. When you get thrown sideways in the seat and the car is accelerating and you're having to slow down when you catch up to other drivers and when you pull away from drivers, like that's fun. That's my biggest passion in drifting is setting up cars to go insanely fast. Like people think we're just out there spinning tires and skidding around. To make them accelerate and drive through the corner, that's the most fun. And that's why I want to do like a 4-seat car to have that kind of feeling.
Oh, so another 400 pounds in the back of it's going to help with that a lot.
Oh yeah, 800 horsepower and drift up, and yeah. So I'm really, really excited for where my program and that's going. So the idea is like the sedan will get probably the 2-liter build. IE stepped up on board and sent me their full catalog, so they're doing motor build, tune. I'm hoping to run a Boss ball bearing turbo kit that will get me 700-ish. I'm thinking the sedan is going to be more competition based. I'm going to take my learnings and stuff off of the Avant. What I came to realize is like I want to drive, and getting out to events in the economy and that we're going through with gas prices getting insane. Tires are hard to get. Tires are expensive now. Like my cost of running a drift car has gone up huge amounts even since 6 months ago. So, and making more power, unfortunately, I got to run more expensive tires, wider tires, and making more power, I'm going to use more fuel. So, I just started realizing like I need to focus on the party car and the fun car that gets seat time, that gets to events, that gets people excited about what I'm doing, more so than this crazy competition car that nobody can ride in because it's too expensive to run and breaks all the time, and I'm trying to reinvent the wheel on. But so I've kind of parked the sedan. The sedan's there. The sedan's going to get a 2-liter build, I think, with 500 to 700 horsepower. IE made 700 horsepower in the motor, but it was with fuel system upgrades and that. And I just don't have the time and money and effort to focus on that right now. So
Makes
I
sense.
think with the 4-cylinder, I think it's going to be light enough that that could be a really fun competitive chassis and not getting so much weight over the front end. So it's like I'm kind of changing my theory and maybe going with the sedan that's going to be super, super light, and then the grip will just kind of inherently come versus trying to make 1,000 horsepower and, you know, light the world on fire. So through all of that on
Hey.
top, and part of my decision with focusing on one car is Michaelessa. When I was at Irwindale last year for the last round of Formula Drift, I asked Michaelessa just a pure figurative question of how do you get on a pro team? That's my ultimate goal with drifting, is I want to be a crew chief. I want to either run a team and be a crew chief, or I want to be a crew chief. Steph Papadakis, Von Ginn Jr. are huge idols of mine. I think that they're doing what the sport needs and really showing the structure and like professionalism with the sport. So I kind of want to grow and be in the history books of, you know, FD and or drifting in period. So I purely asked him, like, how do you get on a team? How do you start changing tires? How do you get into, you know, professional drifting in a crew sense? And he goes, well, funny enough, like my crew chief is going on to Pro 2 next year, so I'm going to have an opening on my team. Just keep in contact. So, of course,
Nice.
like every 2 weeks, hey, Michael, how's it going? Do you still
Right.
need a team member? So it kind of came down to like, he's like, all right, like I'm waiting for the budget and that from all the sponsors to see if I can bring on a crew member to see, you know, logistics and all that stuff. So he reached back out and he says, all right, we're good to go. Just let me know, like, if this works for you and what we can do. So we start working out some of the details. And I was like, hey, so what am I going to be doing for you? Like, am I going to be changing tires? Like, what's the thing? And he's like, I'm going to train you to be my crew chief for 2022. And totally upended my world. Cause like, how did I go from drifting a B5 six months or a year ago to now being a crew chief on a pro team? Like, I think he's really like in talking with me and that and chassis setup and how I'm so committed to like making stuff work. I think he thinks we're going to work really well together. And I'm super excited, obviously, with the Liquid Moly sponsorship and partner with that, but let alone just to be in Formula Drift. So 8 weekends out of this year, or 8 weeks, I should say, because I got to be there by like Wednesday. I'm going to be focused on pro drifting and, you know, outside of that, helping on the car. So I had to dial back my personal program of 2 cars to really focus on one insane car this year and hit events and do fun and get a lot of driving and stuff under my belt. And then, unfortunately, I keep saying this, but like, I think 2023 is really when I have 2 set up, full running, you know, real legit program, if you will. So
Yeah, my personal setup's been almost done for some 3 years now, so I can understand, you know, like priorities take place, and you know the careers pay for the toys, and the toys move things along, and
yeah,
Hey,
we get that. I'm super excited to see B8 sliding around. I know a lot of we're gonna have essentially at Race Wars this year a spread of Audi chassis from a B5 guy out of Richmond and Jack C5 and your B8. Should be an excellent time.
yeah,
No,
I'm super stoked. I know that the internet, I hope the internet is gonna blow up when they see 2 Audis like sliding together, because it's I haven't found any. I think at Gateville one year there was 2 4 like quattro cars that were kind of close to each other, like
yeah.
8 cars away, like
right. I've seen
tandeming.
some tandeming with the rest of
Yeah.
I've
On the
seen
same track sliding at the same time was the tandem.
yeah, I know I've been watching around for a while. There's no.
you were saying you like to set your car up to drift fast.
Mhm.
So we have ordered all of the timing equipment for the timing attack portion of Race Wars, and so we'll be running that all day. So
Nice.
we'll know exactly how fast the drift cars are leaving the start line, making it through the first gate somewhere in the middle of the course, and exiting the course just as if we were running a time attack. We're not going to take the time attack equipment down that we've invested in just to slide cars around. We want to know how fast you guys are running too. So we got
The
a
funny
big
part is
LED board up so everybody will know how fast you went when you went that fast.
How bad's
Nice.
it? How funny is it going to be though if the drift cars are still faster than the time attack cars?
I mean,
Blow the
when you're
whole
talking about
scenario
raw
about.
power advantages and all that,
Maybe at
I'm
least first
excited to
corner
see.
entry speed.
Right.
Hopefully.
Oh, I hope. I hope.
Yeah.
No, dude, that is so wild. I'm gonna first put this out there. Congratulations on everything that's going on. I mean, in 6
Thank you.
months, my friend, you have. I mean, you've kind of lit the world on fire with so many different avenues. Like you said, I mean, when I seen your post about crew chief, I was just like,
Yeah.
I was like, that's awesome. Congratulations. I
Yeah,
can't.
well deserved.
I will ask if you have any openings for broom pushers. I will definitely come on board and push a broom. You guys need me to scrape the tire out of the inside of the wheel well? Hit them up. You need somebody to hold the duct tape for $1 an hour? I got you.
Sounds good.
No, like
I'll
seriously.
keep those in mind.
Yeah, like no. It literally when it's one of those that people don't just ask the questions. Like, what does something cost? What's it take to do this? If you just ask a question, you can be the next crew chief on a pro team. I mean,
Yeah.
that's so good. I love it.
You're absolutely correct. Or 12-valve swap a B5 or 12-valve swap anything. You know, just asking Staub. Like, to me, like obviously Michaelessa is a huge pro driver, ex-champion, like craziness. But even going down to like, I felt like George and Stav at Malacca Motorsports were like these kind of Audi gods. Like they were doing something wild and crazy, and they were making power, and they were making these YouTube videos, and like they had their own style, and they were so like badass in the way that they did stuff. I was like I was shook that I got to park next to them with the RS3 and the VR6 swap that they had. Like my car was right next to them in the 034 booth.
Dude,
like,
does it look as nice as? I was sorry. You mentioned 034 booth at SEMA. I know you're going.
Not SEMA, Big SoCal Euro.
Sorry. Okay, I got to. I'll interrupt you again later on SEMA. Talk.
No, it's okay. So yeah, at the 034 booth, like I was so starstruck by them, and then like they came up to me and they were asking about the car, and then they were not like snobby or anything like that, like you'd expect, like these, you know, guys
YouTuber influencers.
Yeah, like just being like this, you know, VR6 is the best and nothing else, you know, matters. So like, hey, one, I really respect the chassis, and two, like I had a 2.7. Like we used to do 2.7 stuff back in the day. It's like we've just kind of grown up since then, but like, you know, giving me still jabs and stuff. But they were George. I mean, me and George probably sat down for an hour and a half, and he's like, I was talking to him. I was like, yeah, you know, I just need to keep the 2.7. I just need to keep 2 B5s. And he's like, dude, don't be afraid to like step out of your comfort zone. He goes, you clearly have a support. People are liking your car. Like they like what you do. He goes, we just started 12 valves, or we just started VR6 stuff. He goes, now we got an RS3s and like took on this whole 5-cylinder battle, and now it's VR6's life type thing. He goes, don't ever be afraid to like step out of the boundaries. He goes, a lot of people said we weren't going to make the RS3 work. You know, a lot of people said we're crazy, or why would you do it? He goes, screw them. At the end of the day, like if it gets done and it's fast and it's what you want, like people are going to enjoy it. He goes, you build cool stuff. And I was like, maybe I should step out of the boundary. So
it's all right.
Yeah,
it's one of those. It's all right to color outside the lines.
Yeah. Especially when you know, like, if you know your color's strong and you know what you're doing is good, then yeah, you can color outside the lines all you want, and the next thing you know, that's gonna be the lines. And
then we color them farther.
Yeah, I'm super humble in what I've done, but like I think I've set like the B5 can be a really good drift car. I think I've kind of already done that, and I'm almost ready to move on. I do really want like a B5 street car. I can't knock the chassis. I love them.
Bro, I love my C5. It's just a bigger version of your B5.
Oh, 100%. And I've thought about that too, but like it's just, again, it's just the age. I personally love the way the C5 or C6 looks, C5 C6 looks. The C5 like 4-liter, or what is that, 4.2, like the V8 cars, the wide body, the factory wide body.
Yep.
I think they look freaking amazing. I mean, they're literally factory wide body cars with a big old tire in the back of it. Like they look awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So,
you know, I don't know what I'll upgrade to in the future. I gotta get my C5 race car out of the way. You've got your B5 race car out of the way. I gotta get my C5 out of the way. Maybe we'll then upgrade to another one. But I have decided. Last time you and I talked, one of our things that was on the mind was like I kind of had to figure out what my program was more about. Like what was I taking things, and I've taken on a mentality of I'm in get me done mode.
Yeah.
I am in get me
There's
done mode.
nothing wrong with that.
No, like I've accepted that there's still, even if I build a pro spec car to the T, to the letter, here is the car on paper and it can pass tech. There's still stepping stones that I must go through with the car. And I'm never going to, like, just shaking the car down. It might take me 4 events to get the car in order, sorted out in a manner. Even though I drive one, it's like, I realize that and I'm like, that man, that young man that I talked to back over there knew a thing or two. And if it wasn't honestly for you, I would have I'd probably still be in my head a lot about that. So thank you again.
Yeah. The thing is with what we're trying to do is you can't really build a car to a rule book too. Because like Pro Spec's only 1 or 2 years old. It used to be Pro 2. The rules have completely changed on Formula Drift. And not to knock Formula Drift, but there's so many other series popping up that have a lot looser regulations that have bigger payouts and are, if you will, more fun and less competition based, or like, oh, follow the rules and weigh the car, and like it's like F1 versus every other race series out there. Like you can kind of get away with like fudging the numbers and the rule book and stuff. You can take a quattro, make it all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. Like you can do little things in that, and that would be that. My advice would be is like, if you're going to build something wild and different, build it for you and build it for a general rule set of drifting. Like look at what all your local guys and stuff say you have to run, or even where you want to run. Like my whole build process in that is mostly based on like a clutch kicker style rule book, because it's very generic and it leaves it open-ended for cars like myself to go out and compete and not be like you have some weird unfair advantage that we have to make a rule for. So yeah, I mean, if you want to go pro spec and all that, just go buy an S13 and E46, a C6 Corvette, and just do the cookie, because the reality is like you have to have a chassis that's set up, and in that type of competitive sport, it is millimeters and inches and miles per hour and everything that is the fine judging aspect of it. And unfortunately, I think a lot of the style is harder to see in that, and some of the grassroots stuff is a lot more fun to drive. So a car like yours, big V8, smoking the tires and all that, may not be the craziest angle, the fastest car ever, but like that's going to win a lot of stuff. So if you're trying to do competition in that base, I would just build the car off a general set of rules and absolutely go out and drive, because you're going to inevitably tweak things. I mean, I started out from ratchet strapped front end down coilovers because it was unloading the front end, and the front end was like moving too much. So I basically like effectively like made the front end not work so that I could at least slide around corners. The first event that I went to, I put air ride on the car and adjusted that like crazy. I changed with sway bars. I changed suspension geometry and like alignment specs. I changed wheels and tire setup. I changed power band. I changed all of this different stuff on the car, and it wasn't until the end that I really started getting comfortable with it. So I know everybody says seat time, but like you've obviously drifted your 2.7 car quite a bit. Yeah. You know what works and like doesn't work. So I think you're going to apply that to your V8 car, and then it just comes out to just going out and driving it. And things are inherently going to break. Like I rewired my car twice because I was like, well, maybe I want to add on this, maybe I want to add on that. And then I did add them on, and then I'm like, well, I really would do this differently. And like, especially you, like you're a tinkerhead. You're never going to be done with that car. And that's kind of the reality. It's like, my B5, I never stopped tinkering on it. I was like, all right, I just got to get this thing out of my life, build one car from scratch. And then hopefully all it is like, my goal with the Avant is literally to change tires, change fuel, like change oil, spark plugs, and focus on another build. So
I will say this, the one thing that's different between you and me is, I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't have sold the car. I'm sorry.
I don't have room.
I understand.
Like 3 cars, 4 cars, and
I seen a post today about the perfect type of wife, and I feel like your wife is this wife. I'm gonna describe this real quick. Hold on here. I got it in my feed, and here it is. It says, marry a girl who says things like, I'm proud of you. I can't believe you're mine. You're right. I was wrong. You can do it, baby. I don't know where this extra car came from, but it fits next to your other projects on the driveway. Great. And you definitely need some more.
Yeah. Oh man.
All she keeps talking about is we need a bigger house so you can have more cars. So
yeah, just
you guys talking about the cars you tinker on, and this Project Snowball, the CRX is definitely my tinker car.
Yeah,
I'm building it for different reasons. The B5, I'm just ready to be done. I want it to run. I want it to sit in the corner. I want to drive it occasionally.
I hate
But
to say that, but that's like typical B5 ownership, and like I just didn't experience that. And again, I'm not like cocky or I'm super humble, but like I feel bad. I loved my B5. Like I really
I
like
bought
I love
another
these big
one. I
mechanical
love.
failures, but like I didn't really work on it that much. Like I was always trying to make it better. I was never like fixing stuff. But I will say I deleted like everything. Like it
Yeah,
was mapless.
I
There's
was getting
nothing
ready to
machine
say, like,
related.
I think the B5, C5, because here essentially they're the exact same car. Like, cut the thing in half,
Right.
front half. But I have to agree with you. I beat the piss out of that thing every time I started up, and I put it away, go back, put some fluids in it, do it, and it's
Yeah.
fine. I stretch a
Absolutely.
timing belt, I put a new one on, but I don't
I have
like.
100,000 miles big turbo on the Laser, so it's not that I didn't, play around. It's just this last go around's taking a little longer, but
Nah.
100,000
I
miles
will
on a
say
car,
that-
essentially not many problems in the
yeah.
meantime. Like I cannot complain about that.
It's
Yeah.
funny, but what I think what Austin might begin as like, and you too, is there are so many people out there who say how bad these cars are, and it's like, they're really not. You just got to get them you got to get them into the hands of the people who understand them, can care about them, can work on them, like AZEuros out in Arizona. Like, good time. You want to give us a plug? You want to cut a plug-in commercial here? We'll put it in.
Now we're actually trying to stay away from B5s a little bit.
Oh, okay. He's like,
Because the thing is that they're just getting old. We have to have a right set of technicians that know how to go about the diagnostic path correctly on them. It's tough because they're just getting older. I mean, they're kind of we're seeing the values go up on them. Like they're historic cars. They're going to be historic cars. The ones that are well kept, low mileage are going for insane money. But they go through, like all cars, they just have more complexity to them. Being a twin turbo V6 from the early 2000s, they go through life cycles quicker than most cars, meaning that rubber needs to be replaced, N75 valves, little electric solenoids, they just got to be replaced or checked or triple checked. Or
let me ask you a question then. Would you say from your perspective it would almost be, I mean, a good venture for somebody to say, hey, I am this specialist, no different than you guys are, but say, hey, I do these old cars. Like,
yeah,
if they were,
it's gonna get to that point. It's almost like air-cooled Porsches. Like you take your air-cooled Porsche to an air-cooled Porsche specialist.
yeah,
Newer Porsche is a totally different animal. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, we just don't work on a ton of them now because the world and the economy and inflation and all that stuff, it's hard. Those cars either are in the hands of owners that know that their $20,000-$30,000 cars are very close to being that, even with 100,000+ miles, or they're like, oh my god, I barely afforded this car because I saw it on Gran Turismo or like something. I always wanted this car, and like I'm band-aiding it back together, and my band-aid's broke. Like, can you guys fix it? And it turns into this thing where it's like, all right, we need to go through and replace every vacuum hose. The turbos are blown. The motor's got to come out. It's 20 hours worth of labor. Like, it starts like kind of snowballing. And our biggest thing is we know these chassis so well. So if we're pulling motor and we're to do turbos, like time to do a clutch. Like even if it's time to do a lot of these things. Time to do timing belt because it's so much easier to get to. Now
And
it's all
these
the vacuum lines, and then it's like, then they start looking. They're like, well, my buddy said that he can slap turbos on it for $1,000 in his driveway, and it's like, you could do that, but then you're going to be back for another 1,000 and back for another 1,000. The next thing you know, you're going to sell the car, and it's like this bad life cycle that these cars have. Where I'm a big fan of single turbo. Ever since I went to single turbo, I think twins are just kind of dumb. Like they were designed back then, but like with single turbo or with turbo technology, period, and with the accessibility that single turbo gives, I just think it's so much easier for even like a backyard at-home mechanic, because the turbo and everything turbo related is up on top.
yeah.
And it just doesn't require you to remove the engine to do anything. Timing belt job can be done in a driveway. Like those timing belt and turbo and clutch, really. But even then, with a clutch, the way that the up pipe in that goes, you don't have to pull the entire exhaust system, the entire turbocharger off to pull the trans.
Oh, that's
like
convenient.
everything is easier to work on with the single turbo. Intercooler piping simpler. You don't have all these like smoke tests and all that you have to do, and boost leak tests, and the side mount intercoolers are kind of small, and it just starts snowballing for me as like single turbo is the smarter way to go, I think, on B5s or 2.7s, period, just because of simplicity. They're so much easier to work on. I took the turbo off and changed wastegate springs on the dyno on my car. And yeah, mine was a race car, but still, like, that's realistically somebody could do that in their driveway on a weekend instead of pulling motor to do something all over again. I mean, I see like big turbo 2.7s and like wastegate rods are hitting the turbo housing and like wastegate lines are ran against the freaking exhaust and they melt shut. Like I've seen all of these horrible stuff, and it's like with a single turbo you just run into that. So that's my 2 cents on that. I single turbo the world.
What, like, do you? Okay, so I've only been in your single turbo car, just for instance, just for record. Do you have to remove the false firewall in single turbo cars?
No.
Like it'll fit.
Yep. It's
Yeah,
the excess power kit, the B5 Project B5 kit, they're all designed for factory firewall.
Interesting. I always thought they might like force you to just, because you know how this stuff fits. It fits. And
I ran the excess power kit and I was super happy with it. Fitment wise, it was actually very good.
nice.
I was really surprised. And I had that thing glowing red hot, never cracked on me. I never had any single turbo issues. I actually sold my entire motor. This is like why I'm never arrogant about what I'm doing. I'm super humble. I posted everything pretty much on my Instagram to sell because I really wanted to go to like people that followed me and like enthusiasts. I didn't want to go on eBay and get the highest price. Like I just wanted to help people out.
Right.
I had help getting the parts. Sponsors was cool with me selling it. I wanted to help everybody else. So I posted like the entire motor setup. Well, I posted everything up pretty much individually. I ended up selling the entire motor package to a guy in Washington. He bought the single turbo setup. He bought the tune. He bought the injectors. He bought the motor. He bought the intercooler piping. Like he bought the entire package from me. Is like whatever worked in your car, I want to go on mine. And that to me, that's like super humbling because somebody saw that like what I built and every nut fitting and way I did stuff was like, I want that in my car. That's crazy because with the non-intercooled setup, like my size turbo and all that stuff, and I was super open with the guy, and he's like, I'll tweak it, I'll make it better. I was like, for a street car, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean he could. I mean a lot, maybe meth, a little bit of nitrous.
Well,
Put an intercooler in it.
I sold him 3 different exhaust housings because I was running. The biggest thing was I was running a 101 AR, which was huge for a 3.5. But I didn't want. At the time when I did the single turbo kit, I was on stock internals, so I didn't want that torque to come on too quickly. So I actually wanted a ton of lag so that the car would like roll out and then start making power.
Right. Make it on the big end.
Yeah. So with the rods and stuff like that, I think I got an 86 AR and like a 92 or 96 AR. So I was going to swap those out and like see how the car became responsiveness. So it was able to not make it as laggy, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it got the job done. I rode in it. Seemed just
Oh,
fine.
Yeah.
Tire fire.
Yeah.
How much benefit do you think there would be to tubular manifolds if somebody has gone the Project B5 route or the XS Power route like you're talking about with the 2.8 manifolds, and they're the home mechanic and they're the tinkerer that always tinkers with stuff? How much benefit is there for somebody to weld up their own, make some tubular manifolds for a single turbo kit?
To be honest, I didn't see the restriction in the 2.8 manifold. Like there's things that I would have done about a single turbo kit that might be a little different. Just because I didn't have the restraints of the secondary firewall. I probably would have pushed the turbo up into the hood or raised the hood a little bit to get more clearance. But as far as the Project B5, like I've seen a couple of their cars come through the shop with the full single turbo setup, like their front mount, their intercooler piping and all that stuff. I can't knock it. It's really good. I mean, it's not as cheap as excess power, but that's what you pay for. And excess power is not a kit. It's just the up pipe and down pipe to get you going as a backyard type guy. And then you got to fab all that stuff. To be honest, with fabricators and like trying to find the right guy, that's me personally on my Instagram. I get a lot of people like, hey, where'd you get the single piece drive shaft made? Where'd you get the intercooler piping made? Where'd you get this? Like where I live, I don't have access to a fabricator. I don't have access to an axle shop that will make me a custom drive shaft. Like I don't have access to this stuff. So to me, it's like, yes, it's more expensive, but the Project B5, I just buy the kit and be done.
That's fair. Hey, so okay, speaking of like you say you don't I thought AZEuros was like in the hub of all the amazing things that goes on out in that coastal world. Like isn't California and Arizona like everybody's here?
Yeah. So, well, we had a big change at AZEuros. We had an owner leave and go back to PA, and we brought on a new owner. And the
Okay.
new owner is trying to. We're basically changing the company and growing in the sense of like reaching out and trying. We hired a Porsche tech of 25 years, so we're focused highly on Porsches right now. We still have 3 or 4 B5s on property. We have 2 B5 RS4 Avants being imported,
Oh,
because that's an aspect of our business. So we still really love and appreciate that chassis. Again, nothing to knock it. It's just we don't work on them as much as we used to because of several different reasons.
you just said the magic word to me 2 seconds ago. B5 RS4s you're importing. Can you
Yes.
import me a C5 RS6 yet? A right-hand
Yes.
drive one?
I don't handle importing.
It's the
So
only
that
way.
would be a great question for AZEuros import Instagram,
Oh,
which you
okay.
just created today.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I'm gonna be a customer because I have a dream. I'm like Martin Luther here. I am going to Germany and somewhere over in that big old country over there, as long as it's not destroyed in the next.
yeah,
Yeah, with a sore topic. Just
Yeah.
anybody Google war.
Right, never.
Yeah, if this is in the future in 150 years, just somebody Google Ukraine and Russia, and yeah, now I can tag this.
Yeah, save an RS6 for you.
Yeah. Yes, please. Somebody
For-
leave me one right-hand drive RS6. Like, because I know some, I forget what country it is over there, but Jeremy Clarkson, they were in Europe.
UK, Germany wouldn't have it. It would be the UK.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
The UK has the right-hand drive. So we
Japan
primarily
has right-hand drive wagons. One came through an importer like 6 months ago. Came up for sale in Japan. A right-hand drive. There's like 6 of them over
Yeah.
there.
yeah.
I won't.
So that's where
I'll
we
look it up.
primarily try to grab cars from is Japan, because they're like standard. It's funny, like a lot of to my understanding, a lot of the Audis in Japan were more like US or German spec cars, meaning that they were left-hand drive, like more US spec, if you will. So they're
Okay.
easier to get imported because we have to convert the cars, we have to make them US compliant. In certain circumstances, we have to make them pass Arizona or US emissions compliancy. So there's a lot that goes into importing these cars. It's not just like get them off a boat and slap a for sale sticker on.
Right.
Like,
No, I don't.
But as far as the C5 RS6, we imported 3 Avants last year. Year before last. So yes, they can come in, but I don't know the right-hand drive aspect of it.
So
I know that
I
think that's for 25er.
It is. So why? Wait a minute. Why is it that you can bring RB5 RS4s in then? They're not within.
Because the biggest thing with pulling in a newer car is if they're close enough to US spec that you can petition that they're a US, could have been sold in the US. Meaning bumper part numbers, if swapped, are the same. Like the bumper shocks, the windshield. Everybody talks about that in like the R34. They brought them in, they crash tested them because they had to prove that they were US, but they had to change the like glass on them. They had to do all this stuff. It's the same stuff that we have to do. It's just it's been well documented in the past. We by no means wrote the book on B5 RS4 imports.
Right.
We love them, so we're the ones that are constantly doing them. We're finding the cars and we're buying the parts needed and have the aspect to do it and the admiration to do it, because it's a pain in the butt sometimes. Like I remember we didn't import a B5 RS4, we imported a B5 Avant that was Canadian spec. So it was full Euro. It had the like B6 RS4 were like Recaro seats, like all this stuff was factory. It was just a weird car.
So do you have to be a car dealer? Sorry, do you have to be a car dealer?
You have to be a registered importer.
An importer. So that's a
Yeah.
federal?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And we're
okay.
the only registered importer in the state of Arizona.
I'm writing notes right now.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing about importer and stuff too, is like there's companies out there that are importers that sell cars, but most importers are purely there to do paperwork and get the car imported.
They're paper pushers.
So, yeah, like there's people in Texas and stuff that just like probably work out of their apartment or have like some kind of physical address, and all they do is sit on the computer and yes, paper push. But
so I actually
they're blah blah blah.
Sorry, I was gonna say I have experience with Texas car dealerships and how that operation works. And yes, it is very much like the guy in his apartment sitting in his underwear pushing paper. The Texas laws are loose. That's why I'm gonna leave it at that. But
so there's a long import process and stuff that goes by them. But yeah, I mean, people reach out all the time like, oh, find me one and then I'll import it and all that. Honestly, those cars are probably going to take 6 or 8 months to a year. The RS6s took it was like 14 or 16 months to get the RS6s to pass.
So here's
Because like
what was wrong. Well, what was wrong with it? Now that you say
there's no time frame. You're working with the government.
okay, fair enough.
Someone wants
Okay,
to take a vacation
so it's
for 2
here.
months. It's like, yeah, but that's the crazy thing is it takes so much money to get them here for them to sit until the government says, okay, or no, because you didn't get the right part number windshield. And you're like, but this is the new updated part number. And that process going back and forth with the government could take weeks. So we don't promise them for sale. We don't promise anything. We don't put a price on them. Like they're purely because we wanted to bring them in.
Right.
That was the thing is like we always watch auctions. We always look at cars and we saw them and we're like, let's pull the trigger. So my dream here is to go to Germany and I want to buy the car ahead of time from some private seller, whatever, however I have to get it. I don't care. I'm going to buy the car over there and I'm going to drive it. I want to go drive the Nürburgring. I want to go see Audi. I want to go drive it around because you could used to be able to buy a Beetle, like a bus, and you could buy it from the assembly line and then they'd ship it to you. And well, if I've got a friend like you who can import the thing, it can't be that much harder for me to say, okay, I've already bought the car. Can I just float it to the customs lot and leave it there for him? Here's the keys. Don't wreck it. If it can legally be imported in the U.S., yes. I mean, you could buy it from the private seller in Germany and just make sure it's at the port. And biggest thing, to my understanding, for the import process is we have to know which port it's going to land in the U.S., whether it's New York or Florida or wherever it's coming in. Basically, once we know what port it's coming in, we can start the paperwork. And then once it's in, like, we just kind of handle it from there, whichever avenue it goes. From my understanding, there's different, they call them boxes, like a box 2 or box 3 entry. And it all depends on what you're doing with the car. It's the government.
So
depends on what we're going to tax you on, depends on what license plate you're going to put on it, depends on what you're going to do.
Roll the dice. How many?
And you have to follow behind those rules. So we just basically put it through the shredder and go, all right, this avenue, and that's how you get your driver's license or your registration type thing. So
right on. I mean, that'll make
it can be done. That
makes me feel so much better. So like, I'm gonna start the hunt now. Screw waiting to 2025. Like
we bought a E36 wagon, right-hand drive manual, from a customer here in Arizona that basically got kind of the runaround from his importer. Like he bought the car and he's been driving around like a temp tag, but they basically haven't been able to get it imported. So we just finalized the import. We bought the car from him and like finalized the import paperwork. So now like we're putting coilovers on the car and we're gonna drive around for a couple months.
Wait, you get the cars? You get the cars before they're actually legal? Quote unquote.
We can't. Well, that car is 25 years old.
Oh, okay. Different story.
Car, anything over 25 years old, to my understanding, and again, I don't handle the import. I've been here for 3 years, and I hear a lot of like stuff, going on, and obviously Chad, the owner, he's like, "Hey, guess what I bought today?" And I was like, "Oh, what'd you buy?" And he's like, "B5," and I was like, "Oh no, not another B5!" Like, I to stop up for 2 weeks, refresh the thing, and he's like, "No, RS4," and I was like, "Ooh." And then the next day, he's like, "Hey, guess what I bought last night?" I was like, "A B5 RS4?" And he goes, "Yep." And I was like, "No way, we bought 2 of them?" And he goes, "Yeah, that just so happened to find 2 of them." So,
that's so dope.
But yeah, to my understanding, if a car's 25 years or older, it kind of doesn't matter what it is. It can be imported.
That's how we. So I flew out to Seattle a couple years ago with a friend of mine and drove from out that way back to the East Coast in a right-hand drive 95 WRX. Not a highway car. Let's be clear. Shout out to my friend Fred. That car is legit, but it is not designed for 80-mile-an-hour speed limit. But essentially, anything that's past 25 years old, bring it on in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
and that's the tricky part too, is I don't think all cars can. So like some of the stuff in Japan, like those tiny little like wagon things that like go like 50 miles an hour in that.
Yeah.
I don't think they can technically legally be registered for like highway or road use. They got to be registered as like an off-road vehicle.
Like a K car?
That's where like the gray areas get, because I think some importers push them through as a standard car, and really you're not supposed to. So like I don't know legalities of all that stuff, but I've heard like, because I've always thought you see at like Formula Drift events or a lot of race events, they have those like little truck things.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the
yeah, little K truck.
Yeah, K truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, man, how sweet would that be to like,
Yeah, dude,
you know,
shove a
just hang out
2.7 or a 1.8 in it.
Yeah, and I only live like a couple miles away from work. I was like, that's perfect. And then I was talking to our importer, and he's like, no, you can't legally register those for like a license plate. It's got to be like an off-road style vehicle.
So wait,
So
why
I don't
couldn't you
see how those are
register it
driving around
as?
somewhere.
Why can't I mean? Hold on. First, Jimmy Oaks has one. No, Jimmy Oaks
Safety,
has one. In
I know that's what I'm saying is they get them through.
It
But
depends on
my
the state.
understanding it's not supposed to.
but can you? Why
Depends
can't
on
you
locality.
register? Why can't you register it
I
as
think
an
it is
off-road
something
vehicle?
state-wise.
It depends
some
on the state. In
Yeah,
West
so-
Virginia, you can register a four-wheeler, a side-by-side four-wheeler to
Here
ride
you
on the
can.
road.
Arizona, you can too.
But, like, there's folks in my development here in Northern Virginia that they have both a Suzuki Carryall or Carry 4x4 and a Honda Active 4x4 that they have plates on them, but they're like antique vehicle plates. You can only drive them 2,500 miles a year. There's all these kinds of
I mean,
stipulations.
okay, 2,500 miles in a 2,500 miles in a side by side is a lot of miles. I'm just saying.
But
Not
it's
in
gonna. I mean, it's gonna depend on the state. You could like what we
Yeah.
say here is not gonna apply to
Fair enough.
anywhere.
All
Yeah.
right.
Again, any questions? AZEuros import Instagram got started today. They're literally that's there to answer those type of questions on. So
We're gonna.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be.
Contact the correct people.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to know about this because. Well, did I ever tell you about my? I got a
it's
friend
like
of
we
mine.
imported a GT 996 GT2.
Huh?
We imported a 996 GT2.
That's cool.
Like that's one of our recent imports.
What year is that?
You're gonna make me look horrible to Porsche owners. 2006, 2007, I think, like 996 era. But that car was available in the U.S. So my understanding is like we just got to make it compliant enough, like change the windshield, make sure. I know that. Okay, this is one big thing that I hear all the time. You have to, in like, for instance, Canada, a lot of times a brake light will have the old school brake symbol. It's just like the P and then like the circle for the parking brake.
Yeah.
DOT standards have to read brake in red. So like a lot of these cars that we're importing, like we import brand new cars. Like I've imported a 2019 G-Wagon.
Yeah.
Like we can do it, but we had to replace the entire cluster because the cluster in Canada didn't come with that like backlit, and there's no way to like swap them out.
Interesting.
And like cars that came with TPMS have to have TPMS, and I guess that's an option outside of the US. Like you can either buy a car with back in the day, at least, you could buy it with air conditioning or not. You could buy it with tire pressure monitor systems or not. In the US, it had to have it. And it's really hard to like retrofit those cars to have tire pressure sensors if they never came with them from the factory.
Right.
So we get like, honestly, importing is like not something I really want to get into because you either get customers like, oh my God, you're the best thing ever. And the other customers like, why did I just buy $100,000 car I can't drive? Like, and I have to take back to Canada or I have to take back to Mexico. And it's like, we're just the paper pushers. We're not the guys that say yes or no. And like, we can argue to a certain point, but the reality is like black and white. And if they don't want to prove it, I can't prove it. So I just know that that's something I do a lot is like find US clusters for import.
That's crazy. So I have a friend of mine. He has a right-hand drive A5 3-liter diesel. It's
That's not technically supposed to be in the U.S.
Yeah, I know.
Around, there was a wagon. Yeah, there was it wasn't right-hand drive, but there was a 3-liter TDI wagon that was never sold in the U.S. Never supposed to be here. It came from Canada, and it was like the CEO of like Frito-Lay chips or something like that. Like we traced it all the way back. Because it had a U.S. title, and we're like, how'd this get imported? So as an importer, we can go back through records, and somebody snaked it through.
Yo, I should give you his VIN.
That's not supposed to be here.
Yeah, I should give you his VIN because the story he got when he bought it from this gentleman that was. The guy had already left, but the story he told me was that the guy came over to the United States from Europe and on some government contract and said, I'm bringing my car with me. And I guess they needed him bad enough. They was like, all right, we'll bring the car with you. And the car ended up here. And
Yeah, just like any rule, unfortunately, in the U.S. or government, and that it always kind of changes. Like there's always black and white, and then there's like an area of gray, and the area of gray gets pushed or lived in for a long period of time, and then somebody comes through and says, "No, it's black and white." So we've seen imports and stuff like that. Like, how'd this car get through? Like we've seen, man, I can't remember what chassis it was, but we've seen cars on like Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer and stuff with like full Euro spec on them, and that's legal. Like you have to take those parts off the car and you have to destroy them. Like we have to destroy the RS parts on the car. Unfortunately, we have to destroy the headlights, we have to destroy the taillights, we have to destroy the cluster. Like we have to do that stuff, and it sucks, but it's the only way to get them into the U.S.
Dude, that really does suck. Even if it's too bad you couldn't just like send them
But
back.
people that do it and don't, well, okay, you can export it, but we have to prove that it was sold outside the country.
See, before
We don't
I would
always usually
destroy it.
them. Yeah, we don't always usually destroy them. We'll find guys that like in Canada that go, hey, I need a headlight or need a tail light, and we'll legally export them. But we see this stuff happening, and we're like, it's cool to see it go through, obviously, because it's 100% the way it came. But it's like, one, they could technically pull the car because it's not U.S. compliant, and the paperwork was fudged or it wasn't sold correctly.
What is so bad about the headlights? Like, I don't know. I'm curious.
They don't have the yellow, the
amber
yeah,
corner loop?
the amber. Yeah, they're
so
like clear.
So change the bulb. Put a yellow bulb in it.
That doesn't work that way. It has to have the reflective because it's if the headlights go out, like you have to be able to tell the front end of the car.
Yeah, I'm not being a butt here, but yeah, the Brits are a little bit smarter than we are.
You can hop on, like eBay and buy the taillights that we would have to crush,
right?
Type thing. But that's what we have to do. It's just the government, not. And like I said, we see people doing it, and it's like that's cool. But now you're gonna make like if this becomes more and more popular, you're gonna make things more and more stringent, and that's the way it's came. Like they're getting very stringent about where it crosses on borders, like which port it came through. So cars that illegally got here because some border agent was like a U.S. car, like send her on through. They get here and then
B5 fanboys. What port are you in?
No, the car like breaks down or sits in mom and pop's garage, and somebody passes away, or like somehow the car is here for a year, and then all of a sudden somebody buys it and is like, "Hey, I want to register this." It's like, well, which port did it come through? Well, I don't know. I don't know how long it's been here. I don't know who's the original person through. And it creates issues, and they're starting to deny stuff because of not knowing history of the car. Because technically it was illegal here.
Yeah.
If you bring a car across the border, depending on which box you're entering, it has to be under a bond. So like you have to basically, the government wants to know where the car is at all times, and it has timelines. Like if we don't submit a car within, I think it's 120 days, they can either legally come grab the car from us and crush it, or two, require us to send it back through the border. Even if that means like we're waiting on a cluster from Germany, the car has to go cross the border and back over to start the 120 days.
Oh,
so, like
shit.
I ran into the circumstance with a 996 we imported where I got a cluster from Germany, which took 4 or 8 weeks to get. Got it. It was broken. Had to get another one coming from Germany. That one took another 4 weeks. Showed up. We went to program it, and the entire backlit screen was like blank. Like it was broken internally. So then we had to send another one out, and we're like rushing, like, oh my God, we got like 16 days before this car has to be like submitted. Right. And luckily, we got the third cluster we got worked, and we got it submitted. But yeah, it's not an easy task because there's a lot of things that go behind, and I really feel for our import guys because of course they get phone calls from every walk of life. I mean, we're talking about like food truck trailers that they bought from Mexico or Canada, and like they're trying to start a business, and we're the ones telling them, hey, there's no way this is getting in the U.S. legally. Like it's in because of course border agents, they don't always know the rules to 100%, but like as far as
it's a food truck
getting a title. If it's no, you got a lot of money and stuff tied up into it. So I feel for these guys. They're either heroes or they're absolute devils. So it's a rough part of our business.
It almost builds another industry in itself. Like, you know, 100%. What is it? What would it take some of those food trucks, for instance? Like, what would it honestly take to make a food truck legal? I mean, come on, it's not a lot to it.
My understanding, it took 3 years just to get our importing license. Because it's background checks. I mean, it's all federal. It's basically like being an FBI agent for the government. Like you have background checks and you have financial records and you have all of this stuff. We have to have an area of our property, like basically strictly for import cars, because some cars we have to hold for 30 days while we do the import process, while we make sure that they're legal and all that. We have to hold them on site here. So it's a rough part of our business. So any chance that we get to have the fun cars, we try to dabble in, because that was really the whole point. I mean, the owners are enthusiasts. They love B5 S4s. They honestly got into importing because it's a business, obviously. But hey, we get to have these cars and we get to enjoy them before the next owners do. I mean, I remember when I started here, we had an Imola car that was the two owners. They went half on. It was kind of like hey, we finally got through the import process. We're starting to make some money on importing. Let's go ahead and like spoil ourselves, and we'll go half in on this car. That car. Yeah, B5 RS4s are. I know everybody talks like, oh, wide body and KO Force factory and like bigger brakes and that, but they're really not that much better of a car. Like it's the holy grail. But truly, wholeheartedly, they drive completely different than US cars, and they are great out of the box. Like stage 2 tune, little coilover drop, I'd drive the wheels off one. Like response,
I did that recently. I did that recently. Not a good day. All right. Well, last 6 months ago when we had you on, we jumped over to 0-60 times, and we used their trivia session for Audi trivia. I figure it's only good measure to get back over to 0-60.com, times.com, and let's use their Volkswagen trivia section this time.
Okay.
All right. I mean, I can pick Porsche, or you want to. They have every. Do you want to pick one? Pick a brand, any brand.
This may go against the grain, but I have a lot more BMW knowledge, so I feel more comfortable on that.
Okay, let's go with BMW. It is.
I got real confident last time, so I'm going to be as least confident as possible.
Specifically, would you like BMW car or motorcycle, sir?
Ooh, I know a little bit about the motorcycles, but let's go car.
All right, cars it is. Here it goes.
It's not the new stuff because I'm not a fan.
All right. I'm going to read.
I said, is anybody? There are some body kit manufacturers that are making full body kits for the new BMWs to get rid of the grills.
Oh.
You know what? Vorsteiner just came out, or has come out with like a front grill replacement, and it doesn't look bad. I mean, it takes it to more like the race car thing, but it basically opens those big tall grills up into like basically 2 or 4 big huge openings. So it doesn't make it like as prominent. That aspect. I have to say I like that specific design aspect of the new BMWs, because they are like the old Dixies and old BMWs. Like, they are true to their heritage to have a narrow, tall grill. I'm actually a big fan of those grills. When they started facelifting and they went from the narrow grill to a wide grill, I always liked the narrow grill cars. To me, they just look more like E30 in the era I like. But they ruined it on the whole rest of the car. They took this like old school design aspect and then wrapped like an infinity around it. It's horrible. Like it's rolling body lines and like, it's not exciting. The best, like no publicity is bad publicity, or no bad publicity is still good publicity. Whatever that saying
I think it's no publicity is considered bad publicity.
There you go. So I think it was the smartest thing they could have done, because if they would have came out with a generic grill in that car, they got roasted for how ugly it is. Like, it is not exciting. Motor package is okay. Like, we have one here in the shop at G80, and actually it's the owner's car, and he asked me to take it out drifting today, and it's a little squirrely. It's not very well balanced drift car. It was hard to catch, if you will.
Yeah.
I steered him pretty good, and myself a little bit, but it's a good performing car. Like, it's a decent car all around. But man, the design aspect of it just,
they got lost.
They got lost. They really did. Like, the last 8 years, they really got lost. I mean, I know a little bit about BMW, but like the BMW Motorsports director went to Hyundai, and if you look at Hyundai and Kia and some of these other brands and their like performance cars, they're getting way more exciting. Like, I drove a K5 over the weekend, and like, that's a pretty fun car. Like, it was the all-wheel drive 2-liter version, but like fit and finish was good. Like,
bro, I want to drive a Stinger. I really want to drive a Stinger. I think it'd be a lot of fun to drive. Like, just
or even one of the K5. They make a 2-liter manual rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
I kind of want to drive one.
I just got to see. You got to see what it's like.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go dip the toe in that water. You see what the temperature's like. You don't mean you got to stay there.
Hey, free pedal car, I will take a drive in anytime. Like,
Oh,
so
absolutely.
far and few between. Like, we gotta enjoy them. I will say, like, that's the only thing that's like holding that G80 on by a thread. It's the fact that they come still manual.
Right.
It's sad seeing everybody go with it. I mean, I know the electric car, and that's going to be hard, but first manufacturer to come out with electric manual, I might buy.
Okay. All right.
Technology's there, but like, you
Jack,
have
when
the
you had
pedals.
your company,
What's that,
you
Steve?
saw an electric manual car.
Yeah, we've had this. Him and I have had this discussion many a times, and I've thought about it, like how you can, how you can do it, the concept.
Yeah.
Like, it's doable. It's
Oh, yeah.
What what is that, EV Power or whatever, the E36 like hill climb car? That was originally a manual car.
It was, yeah.
They said it worked great. It was just the in between shifts it would slip, and they couldn't slow down the electric motor like quick enough.
Yeah.
So you almost need a drag gear in there to like have forward momentum, but as soon as that's off, it kind of clutches, and then you can apply the clutch, make the gear change, and then sprag back in.
Why don't you just use a sequential or a dog box at that point?
But then you wouldn't have that full. You could, but you wouldn't have that full like manual driving experience. Like
Fair enough.
You know,
What about
shifts.
what do you think about was that a single disc or was it a twin disc? Like, I mean,
I don't know what specifically they were using.
there's
That was somebody else's race car.
Trans
Jack.
held it. I know the manual trans they said held it.
yeah, I mean, it's there's we'll get off of it. This is all right. BMW quiz time. You ready, sir?
Yes.
All right. So this is actually a 20-second interval. So you're gonna have 20 seconds from the moment I click the button before it's even gonna give me the answer. So it's gonna score it for us here, and we're gonna let you know.
Okay.
All right, you ready? What does BMW stand for?
Bavarian Motor Works.
Yes.
See, now we get to wait 20 seconds.
No,
You
no.
started-
This one's already gone through 20 seconds.
This is an experienced guest here. Let's give him some difficult questions, Jack.
I'm sorry. This is like what it gave me. Which BMW model is this? Oh, well, this sucks because you're not going to be able to see this. But it's like an older BMW with a slanted front nose. Wait a second.
E24?
Hold on.
6
Hold on. I just realized what I can do to solve this
This is the
problem.
wall, Jack.
And magic will appear.
It will. Magic is going to appear.
Now, do I have to click this?
We all have to click this, Jack?
Yeah.
We all have to
Yeah. Oh, that is a Z8.
That is
definitely a Z8.
All right. All right. Next question. Which 2020 BMW model has the highest starting MSRP?
Oh.
Alpha, a B7 X-Drive, an M8 Coupe, an X7
X7
M50i.
M50i. It might be the i8.
All right,
X7.
X7 M50i.
No, knew it.
It's an i8 convertible. I should have been reading these for the listeners too, and I felt like I failed.
Let's be honest. All of that is way out of my price range, so I don't pay attention to that.
Bro, I Google. Okay, so it's not no secret. Like in December, I went and I stepped. Oh, did we lose him? Do. Ah,
We overloaded somebody's internet.
Jack, you got to stop streaming, bro.
all right. Stop streaming. There we go. Did we lose you, Austin? Oh, nope.
There we go.
Okay. Sorry about that. I probably screwed it all
Okay.
up. I don't even remember what it was. Never mind. We'll move on. Oh, no. Sorry. No secret. So I Googled the other day, like, what is the average Audi owner's net income, like a year, right? Like, I was curious, what is that number?
That's crazy you could look that up.
Yeah, it's a great number. 169.
They do B5 owners.
Huh?
Do they do B5 owners? Average income of B5 owners.
I should look.
That would be interesting. It's got to be a huge spectrum, like from cheap to like just way too much. Because I know like corporate people at like Amazon that have B5 S4s.
Right.
So
that probably run worse than the enthusiasts. I'm gonna take a guess.
I don't think that they well, I think that they run, but it's not like they drive them. I think that they're like.
See, that's the worst thing for a B5.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion. Cars are not meant to be sat; they're meant to be driven. That's their job. Sitting. Let's move on. All right. Question number 4 or 5. Which is not a BMW model? A 2001 C, a Z8, a 1600, or a 2800 CS?
First question, or what was the first?
A 2001 C.
2001 C? Yeah, that's not.
That's not a BMW model?
No, C isn't. A 1600 is. A 2002 Tii is. What was the other one?
A
Z8?
Z8? Yeah.
Yeah, those are all. Yep.
What is a 2800 CS? I've never seen one of those.
Not a
They're
BMW.
an old sports car. No, they are.
Oh,
Wait.
no, I have seen one of these. Sorry, I had to Google it. That's super cool. That's super cool. For the world over there, here it is. Your answer, you are correct. A 2001 C is not. All right.
Fun fact, BMW owners, I used to work at the dealer, and they would come in and say, hey, I need a battery for a 325 series.
Oh,
All right, I'm gonna have to.
Mercedes customers, if you get that inside joke.
That's
the C300. Like it's not a C3 series, it's a C300. So when they come in and they go to BMW, they're like, oh, it's a 325i series.
That's funny. I don't. All right, I got another one here. You're gonna know this one. I know it right off the top, but here we go. I'm gonna share this to you. What is this car?
That is a 8 series.
That's correct. You are an 8 series. All right, I will stop the screen share so we don't screw up the stream again. The 2014 BMW 740i and 750i sedans produced how much horsepower respectively? 400, 560, 265 to 325, 290 to 375, or 315 to 445?
The 445 one sounds correct. What was the spread?
315 to 445.
That spread. Yep.
That one?
Yep.
You are correct. It's already got the green lit. You do know BMWs more.
I was with BMW like factory for 11 years.
I'm glad you came over to the light.
That's what I said. I always used to joke. I was like, oh yeah, I came over to the dark side. And then I was like, wait, it's the opposite way around. I came from the dark side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Old BMWs are great, but like newer Audis murder them, and older Audis are honestly just as much fun. Their Audi Volkswagen was way more powerful than BMW back in the day. I just think that BMW was a more well-rounded chassis. Like,
Yeah.
you know, B5s, they talk about like heavy and like why you put the steering column so high or steering rack high up. But like that's what they had to do back then.
Right.
It's just they're two different animals, but I love early 90s Volkswagen Audi because they built some strong motors and they're a ton of fun to make power on.
And I heard, for the record, also for the world and everyone, I'm not thrashing BMW. My love just stops at E46s, like and a handful of 5 Series. Like I can't get with these newer ones. I like some of the engineering that's gone into them.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm not a fanboy of it. They just don't do any of the boxes for me anymore. It's whatever.
Yeah, I like the CRX era BMWs. Like,
yeah.
Windows and everything's simple, and like you can drive cross country with them and fix them with like rubber bands and glue. Like fun fact, I fixed an E30 throttle cable with zip ties and drove it 55 miles home.
Fucking right. That's awesome.
Nice.
I was like so proud of myself. Like I fixed a throttle cable with zip ties. And it was a manual, so I like shifting and doing everything. I was so proud of it. And then Adam LZ was like, yeah, I fixed it at like Clutch Kickers, my BMW with the zip tie. And I was like, I've done that. I could have helped you.
That's so good. All right. Which BMW has the quickest 0 to 60? A 1994 BMW N5, a 2009 BMW Active Hybrid 7, a 1997 M3 sedan, or a 2011 BMW 640i SE convertible?
I would say the Active 7.
The Active 7. Why? Like, is
Because it has it's a hybrid, so it has electric motor in the trans. Those things are. I was amazed that they didn't say i3 because up until 2016, I think, with the new F10 M5. The i3 was the fastest 0 to 60 BMW for sale at the time because of the electric.
That I
They
did
had
not.
tiny little skinny little tires. It was
Yeah.
the fastest 0 to 60, or as fastest, maybe it wasn't 0 to 60, maybe it was fastest 0 to 50 or something.
That's so
But it was like, but it beat it by like 0.1 or 0.2 seconds. Like significantly faster to that mile an hour.
Could
0
you
to 30.
Could you imagine being like outgunned in like say your gasoline powered M3 by a little i3 at a stoplight?
Yeah. With a motorcycle engine.
Right.
Well, sorry, motorcycle engine only to be the generator. Doesn't actually power the rear wheels.
Right.
It is rear wheel drive.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah.
2009 BMW Active Hybrid 7 is correct, sir. I think we're gonna have to change the leaderboard after this. All right.
Not too easy on him, Jack.
Yeah. Well, okay. So last time, I'll be honest, I went through this ahead of time, and since we changed the question, I allowed you to guess. I kind of screwed myself here. In 1998,
We also had 5 questions before.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh shit. My bad. How many questions have I asked
Yeah.
you?
I mean, he's clearly got them all right.
Yeah, he does. Like
We're gonna put him on the top of the leaderboard.
He's reigning champion. Be it 0 to 60 doesn't have anything for him. Like, I'll ask you this final question, and we'll see if you want for $1 million. Are you ready?
I'm gonna hold you to it.
I got all right. You take Sheba. In 1998, BMW acquired which luxury car brand? I'm not going to tell you the answer. What's the answer?
Land Rover.
Wrong.
What?
Yeah.
1990.
I wasn't giving him answers. He was so smart.
Oh, that was 2004. 2004 was Land Rover. Got too excited. It was Rolls Royce.
It was Rolls Royce. Yes, it was.
I didn't have to ask. Dang.
Jumping the gun.
BMW acquired Rolls Royce after Audi or after Volkswagen Automotive Group acquired Bentley because they wanted to compete.
All right. Well, Austin, it has been a fantastic time having you on. I feel like
we forgot to talk about race wars.
That's right. Shoot.
The most important thing. Well, I was the most excited about coming on this.
How did we do that?
Because I jibber jabbered the whole time.
Oh, and then we went into trivia. That's what happened.
That's right. We have time after trivia, Jack. Don't you worry.
Okay.
Don't you worry. So my question to you, Austin, how long is your road trip leading up to Race Wars? Because we have August 27th, the Saturday, marked on the calendar. But what does your week leading up to Race Wars look like?
As far as what it takes to prepare or what it takes to get the car there?
What it takes to prepare. Or both, because obviously you're in Arizona.
Yep.
The event's in Central Virginia. It's about 2,800, I think, miles away, guesstimating. But it's the entire width of the country.
Are you shipping the car?
Which I appreciate the support.
No, I don't. As of right now, I don't plan on shipping the car. I probably will trailer the car out. So AZEuros has been, unbelievable sponsor for me. Obviously, pays my paycheck every week, but they really truly believe in what I'm doing. They allowed me to purchase a Q7 from them insanely cheap, which is a TDI, and my trailer got totaled since talking to you guys last. Lady ran a red light uninsured, so I wasn't able. Yeah, I mean, I spent hours on that thing with tire rack, and yeah, that was a bad night. So
Nothing
with AZEuros,
was anything on the trailer?
No, I was actually going to buy a B5. I texted the lady and I was like, I know I lowballed you, and I know I feel like I'm making excuses, but my trailer just got totaled. So I sent her a picture of it, and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" And I was like, 2.5 hours I blocked an intersection in the middle of Phoenix.
Oh shit!
Before the police showed up. It was a horrible night. It was an absolutely horrible night. I put it way past my memory, and coming back to it now is like, oh, it was bad.
Wow.
So I have an aluminum trailer. I have a diesel Q7, so I'm as prepared as I can be, at least running one car. That's why I started like snowballing with the 2-car thing. Is like, crap, I got to get a 2500. I got to get a gooseneck trailer to take both cars. Like with everything going on, especially with this whole like Russian ordeal and gas prices going up, like I'm being even more stringent and strict on what events I'm going to. But we've talked about it for at least a year, if not 2 years now, of going to Race Wars. I'm seeing my B5 Freaks guys, even though I'm not going to have a B5. That was a sore subject. I mean, I'm not leaving the chassis by any means, but like I won't have one there. But yeah, I'm canceling a couple of other events and with Formula Drift and all that stuff to make it out to Race Wars. So as of like the way things fall now is we'll ship the car out and then ship it to Colorado and meet it there with the truck and trailer for Grid Life, which is a week or two later. Or I'm just going to make the trip. I mean, I'd really like to see the B5 Freaks guys. I'd really like to the car will hopefully still be street legal, like at least in Arizona standards.
Right.
So I would like to, take the car out, and I'm sure you guys are going to, go to dinner or, there's going to be local fun things to do. So
we'll be doing other things.
Yeah.
Wait,
so
what day are you thinking about coming out? Are you,
I don't have all that 100% planned yet.
Right on. Well, as we get closer, because I'm one of those like
as I get closer, like I can kind of judge, like I can put feelers out there for the transport and see how much that's going to cost. Because like it does make sense to probably transport the car out there, ship tires out there. The beautiful thing about an Avant drift car as a demo car is you got the whole hatch to throw stuff in. So like I'm gonna box spare parts, I'm gonna box tools, I'm gonna box everything up in the back, and then I got 3 seats to put things in. Like we're good. And very worst case scenario, it's got a roof rack on the top. We're gonna load the top with tires. Like I thought all this stuff out, But that's kind of like worst case scenario. Ship it out there, and then probably ship it to Colorado Springs. I have some friends that I've already like solidified, like either keeping a truck and trailer at their house or car in Colorado for Grid Life.
Yeah.
Honestly, Grid Life, Colorado, and S4 Race Wars are the 2 events. And Big SoCal Euro later I think that's in December or November. Those are like the 3 events that pretty much nothing's going to hold me back from hitting. The rest of the events, if the world stays the way it is and gas prices do, I mean, like I'm still just a privateer and I'm still just a broke motorsports guy.
We're broke car guys, yeah.
Motorsports, because like John Force like basically slept in his trailer and that was his whole life, like, to get where he's at in motorsports. So it's the pain and struggles that we go through. Like my wife's like, hey, can we go to sushi or that? And it's like, I really need that part. Like we're going to go to, we're going to stay home tonight and make a home cooked meal. Like that's the best you get. So
yeah, I can totally relate to the adjusting plans last year. Before our big Cali road trip, all the pipeline issues, the Colonial pipeline had been hacked and such, and fuel prices shot up. So we decided to just bring the van.
Yeah.
And so, we had originally planned to go to big SoCal Euro last year, and then, COVID hit, and then we, gas prices did what they did for a couple weeks. So we only brought the van. And so
wasn't gas hard to get, period? Like there was areas of the country that just didn't have, wasn't like Texas, they just stopped selling gas.
So essentially,
we never had that problem here. I did not realize there was places in the country that just had no gas.
There were a few places it ended up not being as extensive as as the news had hyped it up to be. But when you're planning a road trip, right? But when you're planning a road trip and all is, hey, gas may not be available for the 3 days in the middle of your road trip. You decide, hey, I've got these containers, they're full, but I can't pull the trailer with that. So,
right,
yeah.
I'm super excited you're coming out though for absolute.
Dude, it's gonna be a freaking blast. You need to come out early though. Seriously, I'm coming out on I'm leaving my house on a Wednesday.
The biggest thing is I plan on, No B5 Freaks does a big like Paul Miller event in New York. Obviously my old boss, if you will, is opening his own shop in like Pennsylvania area. Like I had planned this whole like East Coast, I called it the East Coast swing, like hit all these different events, maybe drop down into Florida and like, do an event there or at, very least like an Atlanta type area event or Texas on the way back. Like I was actually trying to plan it to like try to hit as much like paying events on the way back as just to like basically play casinos the way back. And, try
I
to
like
get
it. I like it.
Yeah.
I like that.
The biggest thing is like our growth here with AZEuros and like in the position that I'm in to take time off to go to Formula Drift, which is, 3-4 days a week for 8 weeks out of the year. all my other commitments as far as like, sponsored events and car shows and stuff that we go to as AZEuros. Like, there's just so much going on this year. And with gas prices, that's the biggest thing. Like, even the transport costs, I'm seeing it. Like, just shipping out pallets and that, everything's really, really expensive, and it's hard
I was going to ask you earlier about parts supplies. Like, so you're bringing that up now. Like, are you seeing from somebody who basically buys more car parts than either of us two do daily, how big is that swing? Like, how hard is it finding stuff? Like,
finding stuff has gotten better. There was a couple weeks or a month or so that went by that it's like, holy crap, there's no 2-liter water pumps out, which are really, really common to break. I think you had a couple you fought with like O-rings and that.
Yeah.
I follow your Instagram every day. There was a point where those were just not available in the US anymore. And I'm thinking, holy crap, there's hundreds of thousands of those cars out on the road. Like, what happens? And that back order got filled fairly quickly. But that's what I kind of went back on the B5 when we started, is my axles just went no longer available. Like, they just stopped making them.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm seeing is like these older cars like B5s and B6s even, and some of the old BMWs, while there was a ton of parts and there's a ton of cross-referencing parts for different models and that, they're weighing out, like, do we take the cross-referencing parts that fits 100,000 newer produced cars that, fly off the shelves, or post-COVID when material and people working and tooling and all that stuff are like in high demand, do we make B5 parts or do we make B8 parts? And the reality is the B8 stuff is fulfilling a lot quicker. The newer car parts and newer replacement parts are coming back on shelves a lot quicker than the old stuff. And I'm seeing more and more NLA stuff, especially when it comes to like the weird repair things that we deal with on a daily basis here, calling the dealer and they're like, they just dropped it with no replacement.
Right.
Mark 4 R32s, huge swing in the last 6 months of just not available. Nobody makes aluminum versions of it. Upper radiator hose is no longer available for R32 Mark 4. There's a coolant neck there that I found one guy makes like a billet one and then like welds on the additional bung. Like, that's the only replacement I can find.
The guys over at RK. Have you ever heard of RKX? RKXX? It's just another one of those little hole in the wall guy. I don't want to call him hole in the wall because I've never seen his operation, but he's manufacturing oddball bits of stuff. And I buy walnut blaster adapters. That's something that I found.
Yeah.
I buy vacuum pump kits from him all the time. And it's people like that, though, that are going to keep this community going, especially for these older models, because if a shop is having a hard time finding availability in parts, it just makes them
Oh no, it's crazy. And then pricing, like, we have a system here called Shopware and it saves canned jobs, so I can, like, an average, say a valve cover gasket for a 3-liter B8 S4, go back 4 months and parts weren't nearly as expensive our cost as it is now. And the difficult part is, like, retail hasn't jumped up that much more. So cost of producing parts is so much higher when retail hasn't matched that yet. And even then, it's still, customers are feeling it. Like, how'd you quote me $1,000 repair 6 months ago? Now all of a sudden it's $1,300. It's like, I don't have control of that. Our labor rate hasn't increased, so it's purely on the parts. And when you start looking at it, it's weird time, and I personally think that those smaller part shops and stuff like that are going to have, like, I think that's kind of the niche business in the automotive industry, because as electric cars become more popular, as gasoline cars become bad things, like, it's going to take, like, guys like, you and me are like enthusiasts to go, all right, who's willing to make this? And the nice thing is 3D printing and all the new technology, even there's guys casting parts like in their garage, aluminum replacements. Yeah. Like, that stuff is going to start becoming like, just like your Snap-on impact gun is going to be a 3D printer.
It's funny you say casting in somebody's yard. My old boss, Bob, actually told me stories about when his age, they used to actually go and have to dig sand pits to cast engine. I'm like, Bob, you're not that old, but I get your point.
No, yeah, like, look at the world's fastest Indian movie. Like, the guy used to cast his own pistons. My dad talked about it. Was like,
awesome.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. My dad talked about that. He's like, back in the day, we used to, like, You know, the whole ratchet strapping down the front end,
Yeah.
like taking my B5 out for the first time, that came from him. I broke a motor mount, a rubber motor mount on my B5 or my E30 the first time out. And he's like, let's just go to the hardware store and buy a ratchet strap and it'll hold the motor down. I was like, no way, that won't work. You know, this is, I didn't know what I knew now, but I'm like, there's no possible way. And he goes, we didn't have polyurethane back in the day. He goes, we didn't have upgraded mounts. We had the same rubber crap that you're dealing with right now. So he goes, when we were starting to make 500 horsepower was a lot back then.
Right.
He goes, we would literally weld on a screw and a nut and put a chain and then weld it to the frame, and that like kept the motor from pulling up. It's like they used to do that stuff, and they used to cast, you know, parts and intake manifolds and that.
Well, the funny thing about that is
whatever started by doing that.
Drag racers still have straps for engines.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's still a thing. My father-in-law has chains on his Ranchero, actually.
Yeah. Blower straps and all that stuff. Yeah. Oh, it's funny how and I get this all the time. Hot rodding is not a thing anymore. Like nobody knows what that means.
Yeah.
To me, that's all I refer to is I hot rod this and this is a hot rod and like we're just a bunch of hot rodders. But it's true. Like the real old school way of doing, you know, hot rodding or modifying cars is going to start becoming that way, where it's not opening a catalog and buying a bunch of parts. Like people have to realize that that's the thing of the past. Like as electric cars become more popular, we're going to be the outcast by still running gasoline engines. And we're going to have to call our buddy to make a part, and we're going to have to supply him with a part to keep like this stuff going. Because the government, of course, is going to mandate it. You know,
well,
this is
one way that they get us out, though, too.
Yeah. It is. Look at Jags just got bought out by an investment company.
Oh, really?
Who do you think? Yeah, Jags, a family-owned business for 45 years or whatever, just got bought out by a private equity firm. You know what? Like they're there to make money. And two, if the government comes in and says, hey, you can't do this, they're going to be like, all right, we're selling it off. Or
yeah,
like,
dismantle the asset.
Yeah, and get their money back.
Yeah, I mean that's the way the world turns. Unfortunately, it's like,
so it's just like old school hot rodding. We just got to figure out a way to do what we're going to do, and you know, have a community and stuff behind it, and do it in the most economical way possible. I mean, I hate to say it, but like the automotive industry, I think, took a dip. Like I remember my father getting really pissed off that the local auto parts store wouldn't regrind the rotors on my mom's front rotors on her car and made him buy new ones, because that was like the safety spec in that. He goes, why would I throw away this perfectly good part, you know, pay somebody to machine them and reuse that part? He goes, now I'm just going to throw this thing in the scrap metal pile and like hope it gets scrapped, and like we're just creating more waste and more things. So
but for that matter, a lot of people don't even know that you can turn rotors. I mean,
exactly.
Just if we leave this, let's leave this podcast on the biggest high note. And pro tip: O'Reilly's Auto Parts. I know there are millions of them around the United States. You can walk a set of rotors in, thunk them down on the desk, and they'll say, "Will you turn these, please?" Now, don't take anything in there that's like a quarter of an inch thick, all right? But for real, they will still turn rotors. I think it's like $40.
They'll still test alternators.
Yeah.
They'll still yeah.
I just told a guy at the gas station tonight, go down to, he was having a Honda problem. It wasn't like, he was like, my battery's not doing, it's doing some weird stuff. He jump started. I was like, is it running? He's like, yeah, but the radio's not coming on. Like, take it down to AutoZone. They'll give you a free battery alternator test. We need to get paid for this plug.
Next sponsor of the Audi drift car.
yes. I'm a big fan of Advanced Auto Parts too, though. I'm just teasing.
I've never had good luck with them.
You know, Advance and CarQuest are now the same thing, too.
Yeah. But see, they're like, it's great that like things are growing and becoming big in that, but the problem is that we rely on them too much, and that's just the scary part.
It is. There's a lot of that, but I know we can talk for 3-4 more hours. Steve's an hour ahead of me. You're 2 hours behind us all in the past. So
yeah, it was light out when we started talking.
Yeah, I noticed that. It was like, man, it got dark really fast in the background.
I don't know how to do it. Weird blurry. It doesn't. I don't know how to do that. I'm not that fancy.
It's in the settings, bottom left-hand corner. There's a gear down there, and you'll see it under video and audio. If you scroll halfway down, you'll see it. Yeah, he's looking for it.
Voice and video.
Yeah.
How do you do it? Oh, background. Oh.
We're going to see it.
You know.
Hey, you're on a luau.
Oh man, you get all these different options.
Yeah, you
Ooh,
can
that
even
one's
add a
pretty nice.
custom one if you want in there.
Oh shoot. Well, we got to do this again so I can plug some sponsors or something in the background.
Definitely. Hey,
Gonna NASCAR it up back here.
bro,
Right on.
I
Right
got.
on.
Do you play? Are you playing
Also,
Forza Horizon? Horizon 5.
No, I haven't downloaded it.
Get a PC Game Pass, and you can get on with.
I need a PC. Period. I just have an Xbox.
Oh well, okay, then that's fine. That's fine. Get on there. We'll play. We'll go some rounds. We'll get the Audis out, and we'll practice our skills.
Dude, funny enough, I actually drifted with the B5 freaks. Like I went on live and stuff with them. It was actually a ton of fun.
Yeah. Chase and I, me, Chase, and a few of the other boys, we all get together. We got friends in Okinawa that come over and we just go ham at it for 3-4 hours.
Awesome.
It would be 3 and 4 a.m. my time.
That's awesome.
So,
do you obviously follow my Instagram? You see I'm working with Corey Hosford, building that Twitch 46.
yes, I seen that.
Yeah,
that
so same kind of thing. Like I'm trying to not trying to. That's a bad word. I'm hoping to partner up with him and run both cars together just for awareness of European drift cars, awareness of drifting in that period, because he reaches a huge part of the world that isn't they like cars, but they think a Lamborghini is a fast, cool car. They don't think they're home built.
Their demographics are completely different.
It's the whole Netflix thing with the world's fastest car that people don't think that backyard hot rodded car can compete with a brand new car. So it's funny. He's got these Twitch guys that have Lambos and Ferraris and all of this stuff, and he's gonna take them out in a LS swapped E46 and slide them around and put a bunch of smiles on their faces. So.
No,
that's awesome.
That's gonna be so.
He's I want it cammy, I want it loud. He goes, I want it to scare people before they get in. And I was like, isn't that the opposite of what you're trying to do? And he's like, no, I want them to think that they're cool with their Lambos and Audis and they can drive good and just get in it and just be shaking oh crap.
I might die.
I'm all about it. That's cool.
That's so awesome. All right, well. Yeah. Austin, thanks again for coming on tonight. We will have to do this again later on this year when we catch up. Maybe we'll have to do it live from Shenandoah.
That would be fun.
Yeah, from the passenger seat.
One last plug I have to make. So there's obviously so much going on, but one of the big things on the B8 this year is I'm going to be doing a YouTube series of a game show out of the back of the car. So with having 4 seats in the car, there's 2 passenger seats and 1 passenger seat, or 2 rear seats as passengers and 1 passenger seat next to me. So the whole point with having other people drive the car is I want to progress the game show is to have the driver be an unknown stig for the event or for the show. The host will be out of the front passenger seat and the 2 back will be the contestants. Nice. Almost like Cash Lab. Yeah. So we have a bunch of ideas for doing charades. We had first one to open their eyes. We had an Etch-a-Sketch board. We have all these things you have to do, but this is while we're doing motorsport stuff. So whether it's drifting or road racing or that, and a really fun, we thought about it a piñata as the bonus round type thing. Obviously I love LEDs and underglow in the car. So we're gonna have that strobing and all this fun stuff, but then unveils the Stig. So I'd honestly love to have you. Maybe we can work that out. Yeah. S4Racewars is put you in the driver's seat and you can take some laps with passengers in the car. And we can kind of do it as that. And then we'll pull the helmet off and unveil it, you driving it. So
that'd be awesome.
It'll be kind of a good, fun thing, but, yeah, I'm kind of excited about the game show aspect of it. I think it's going to be fun for podcasts and places that.
Oh yeah. It'd even be a great segment section for your channel. I mean, there's so many ways to spin that. I love it. Yeah. It's before
maybe you can be a contestant in Grid Life and then a driver at S4 Racewars. Or sorry, the other way around. S4 Racewars driver and then passenger and contestant at Grid Life.
There we go. Well, I can already tell you the plans are already in the mix. If you go to Horizon is on Horizon, we're doing it. That's my Gingerman. We are attending. We're just attending. My goal right now is to drive Horizon and just attend Gingerman. So,
nice.
I want to go see. I want both sides. You got to get your feet up. But is there anybody you want to plug before we let you go?
Oh, too many. I'm not gonna take up the time. I appreciate all my sponsors know who they are, and I shout them out every single day. So the big ones are AZEuros, 034 Motorsports, IE, and Liquid Moly, and EBC. I mean, honestly, without them, like literally, this stuff would not be possible as doing this. You know, the support that they've given me, not only in like parts and all of that, but like believing in what I can do and giving me the ability to keep going with it is, it's just impossible to do without it. So it keeps stretching the envelope, and I need to like fulfill on that promise to make this car happen. So that's honestly, that's my primary focus right now. I haven't even made a budget for 2022 until the car cracks off. Then we'll go ham.
Right.
Nice.
Right on.
Nice. Well, we very much look forward to having you out in August, and we'll all be
Yeah.
following along as you progress with the car. And again, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, sounds good. See you guys.
Thank you. Later, Austin. Bye.
So yeah, I'm super excited about an 850 whatever horsepower 4-seat station wagon to be sliding around Shenandoah Speedway.
It's a okay. Clarify. It's a B8 Avant with a VR, right? That's what I heard. If I go back and
Wow, VR turbo, big turbo, clearly, lots of horsepower at the rear tire,
Yep.
4 seats, spot to film game shows.
yes, like I forgot what the Taxi Cab James show. I forgot what oh, what was I remember watching it all the time. The ceiling lit up and blinked all over the place whenever you won.
I didn't watch a whole lot of TV. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name.
This is the outro's a little funky doing this after the fact. I don't know how, like, as this is our first, I mean, Steve, let's be real. This is the first time we've ever done this. Shooting an outro after the fact is almost kind of odd.
It's not a big deal. It's only
Okay,
odd if you make it.
fair enough. It's only odd if you make it. I guess I don't know what to say. Thanks for watching, guys. This was great. Like, do we just kill it and just, or do we want a tangent about Girl Scout cookies? Do you like yours frozen or room temperature? Like,
Nah, I think we roll out.
all right, fair enough. It's been a
We'll catch
fantastic.
you next week, guys. Every Friday, 12:01 a.m. Jack will have the masterful edit. Perfect podcast for your listening commute.
Definitely not perfect. I'll do my best to make it as ideal as possible for your listening pleasure.
Look, we had a good long conversation with Austin, and so we hope that this 12:01 podcast drop that you got lost on your commute, so you can listen to the whole thing.
Oh, dude, that would be so awesome.
All right, guys, have a good week. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.